Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's webinar on risk and risk and audit. We're going to have a quick overview of the 2025-2026 municipal financial year. It's a pleasure to have you with us as we reflect on one of the most important aspects of municipal financial management. The 2025-26 financial year presents an important point of reflection for municipalities. And I'm going to start. Thank you. Our discussion today takes place within the context of the MFMA, MSCA, Municipal Systems Act, applicable national treasury regulations and frameworks, and the broader requirements of the Auditor General of South Africa. Question we believe we should be asking simply is, will we receive a clean audit? And I think that's the pertinent question from most of our delegates this morning. Do our systems, processes, data, controls provide management and council with reasonable assurance that the municipality is operating effectively, transparently, and sustainably? And I think that's what we will try and address this morning. We will look at the fundamentals: financial controls, revenue management, expenditure management, supply chain, assets, reporting, all of the detail that really drives the reliability of our municipal data environment. For the 2025-26 financial year, municipalities need to move beyond simply responding to audit findings and focus on building an environment where risks are identified, controls are continuously tested, exceptions are acted upon, and accountability is embedded into everyday operations. Today's webinar will provide an opportunity to look at these issues from a practical perspective. What are the key risks municipalities should be concerned about? Where are the common control weaknesses? What can management and audit committees do differently? And how can technology, data, and integrated systems strengthen the audit and risk environment? Most importantly, the objective is not to view risk and audit as something that happens at the end of the financial year. Effective risk management is continuous. It's a process that we have to embark on a near daily basis. Effective internal audit is looking forward, and effective governance is ultimately about creating an organization that can demonstrate with evidence that it is managing public resources responsibly. With that, let us begin today's session and explore the risk and audit for the 2025 municipal financial year. Thank you once again for joining us, and I look forward to an engaging and practical conversation. I'm joined this morning by Cornél Eberson, a highly experienced municipal financial practitioner with many years of experience in South African local government. Cornél brings with him extensive practical knowledge of municipal financial management, governance, compliance, and day-to-day realities faced by municipalities. It's a pleasure to have you with us, Cornél, and I'm looking forward to your insights as we unpack key risk audit issues arising from the 25-26 municipal financial year. Cornél, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Philip. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to meet again. It's always exciting to have discussions that affects all of us some or other time in our day-to-day business. I'm looking forward that we will have an informative discussion relevant to at the time that we are in, and also sharing some insights and experiences that everyone has and has encountered during previous audits. So I'm sure that we will have a nice discussion and give us some insights for the times ahead. Thank you, Philip.
Great, thank you, Cornél. Before we get stuck into the detail, just a householding or housekeeping environment or a mention is that at the end of the webinar, we're going to just have a quick poll. Again, like the previous time, we'll try and show you the results before we conclude. But we'd really much appreciate everybody to participate because it just gives everybody a good contextual overview. And what we'll do at the end is we'll distribute the poll results to all attendees of today's session. And that'll also give you just an idea exactly where we stand with certain things, certain questions. Just your perspective or understanding against people that attended the session this morning. I'm going to share a few slides and we'll distribute these to all attendees after today's session. I think my first question, Cornel, would be, what are the key risk municipalities should be concerned about going into the 2025 audit?
Okay, Dan, yes, if you can continue to the slide for us. Philip, we are focusing on the five, well, it's not only five, but five fundamental areas. And I think most important is whatever we do is we need to have accurate data. Now, accurate data does not come at the end of the financial year, as you all know, colleagues. It is consistent. It needs consistent monitoring, needs reconciliations, it needs reviews, it needs inspection. It needs to be managed through the whole of the financial year. Secondly, a focus area always within the municipal environment is revenue and debt management, particular this year when we look at the GRAP 104 implementation and focus for this current financial year with the other financial instruments. It's going to be very important to have accurate data, billing as well as static data on the profiling of debtors, determining, calculating the impairment amounts for debtors specifically. Indigent support is always an issue, and particular there is the records. You know, indigent applications, we find that continues to be an issue, that original applications and approvals are missing. And yeah, that is the fundamentals of providing basic services. If the revenue is not there, then basic services, the execution and the delivery of that is going to suffer. Then thirdly, expenditure, supply chain management, particularly the UIFWE, or unauthorized, fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Massive focus as well from the AG side this year. It is something like 18 billion rand, and there's also an updated Circular 68 issued in this regard, which need to be complied with. There is a lot of guidelines and activities that need to be put in place. And I can mention one thing about that is the lack of the reduction in that and consequence management in those expenditures and how it's treated. So there is guidelines. We should focus on that we utilize those guidelines. Obviously, this is something that is going to be benchmarked in this year. It's already identified as an emerging risk for the current year by the AG. I believe it has been communicated by the AG. And then one very important thing about that is rather to put in preventative measures and controls for those expenditure. Prevent them, then it won't be an issue. Okay. Then fourthly, asset management and infrastructure management, proper asset registers, verifications, depreciation, the old sin only calculating that post year is creating problems. It affects budget issues on the depreciation budgets. It leads to unauthorized expenditure and all kinds of other issues. It's a massive job that we normally want to squeeze into the 60 days post 30 June. So planning and execution on that is quite important, and we will maybe look at that later on in the session. Then governance and accountability. The we found that delegations is outdated. There is zero or very little consequence management. And I believe that little two words there, consequence management, that impact on a lot of municipalities not getting the equitable share. It was the talk of July. Municipalities not getting that. And when I researched it a little bit, and I found that the UIFWE expenditure management was all over in most of the cases. One of the triggers why National Treasury stopped the equitable share. And it's not because it's there, it's because of the management, and there is no reductions in the accumulated value. Just on that, I can just mention that there is prescription guidelines on whether that UIFWE expenditure, when and how they can prescribe. It is clear it cannot prescribe by default in terms of the Prescription Act. Okay, so audit committees not sitting, not performing their mandates. All other oversight committees, for that matter, we found that impact hasn't sat. The impact process wasn't sufficient or was found lacking. So the oversight structures that we have needs to be effective and play their part on mitigating the risk and on the audit outcomes.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Cornel, for the detailed feedback. If we move forward and look at the control weaknesses, could you perhaps give us a view on what you've done in that regard?
Philip, yes. And we all know the concept of reconciliations and the purpose, etc. But it seems that reconciliations have become a tick box of compliance. It is not seen for the importance that it does have. So recons, who reviews it, the action from recons. If you don't take action on the results of a reconciliation, barring that it is reconciling and no issues, then it is actually fruitless. Specifically, annual reconciliations that's only done annually, it just not give you enough time to take corrective action, where a continuous reconciliation and actions emanating from that recons will have the true value and provide the true value of a reconciliation in the long term, because it provides you with time to take corrective action. Then the thing about, or the consequence of reconciliations is, and AGS highlighted that they will not allow material adjustments where there's internal control deficiencies that persisted, and without corrective action, and that is the trigger that a proper reconciliation will provide you to prevent that. If there's identical misstatements in the previous overview, years of overview, they will also not allow adjustments to the AFS. And then also, when you haven't corrected the root causes of the underlying population errors in time, and then considering the extent of the work and the experience and the skills needed for that, that is why they won't allow it, as they also won't have time to review the nature of those material adjustments. Okay, so just an interesting fact is according to the AG, 50%, 7% of the auditees had repeat findings that prevented improvement in their audit outcomes. So an interesting fact, what they are saying is there's a yellow line audit results. That is auditees that have remained on an unqualified audit for more than 2 years, and there is no improvement. And in that, 57% of them had repeat findings, and that is why they are not moving. They will not move to a clean audit or to improved audit outcome without dealing with the repetitive findings. Okay. Then importantly, we need to fix the process that caused the transaction failure. It's not sufficient or prudent when you just do a journal and you fix a missed allocation, etc. You need to find the root cause, whether it is by a person, somebody down the line, the lack of oversight, the lack of delegations, what caused that transaction to fail in terms of compliance or correctness, etc. That is the important part to fix the root cause. Then we must also learn from the past and learn from others. And in this regard, Philip, I know that the provincial treasuries plays a huge part in this, the provincial COGTAS, Ops Clean Audit, etc. But there are units within the provincial structures which have programs to support on asset management, on revenue management, on debt management. They are there, but it is actually not really used to to swamp them at this time of the year, 2 weeks or a month or 2 months before the audit starts and the AFS needs to be submitted. We need to, or the municipalities then need to engage them early when we execute the audit action plan and engage them. They are there. We can also ask on the buddy system, neighboring municipalities within a district. There is forums where we can just tap into the knowledge that is around us, and that thereby improve what we are doing.
Thank you, Cornél. I think it's important if you look at fixing the process. I mean, the involvement of management and the audit committee is critical. Your views on how things could perhaps be done differently or more effectively?
Well, an interesting statement that I heard this week was we must do what we said we're going to do, and also say what we are going to do. You can't just do, and I think a lot of our processes, we do it. But we don't know actually how we do it. It's not documented. It's not described properly. What should be done. But yes, most of the outcomes are achieved. I mean, there is people that getting unqualified audits, financially unqualified. It happened. It's part of the natural process, and we were lucky that there wasn't failures in between. But now there's a lack of measurement whether we are failing or not. Okay, so if we don't know what to do or how it should be done, then management and oversights are basically paralyzed, because what are they going to check? They are not there to check every little transaction or process that happened. Um, there needs to be clear-cut processes how we're doing this. Then part of that process is the time frames and the intervals that we are doing. No use the oversight committee or the audit committee sits only in August to review the AFS. We find that that is failure in the oversight process, because that should have been done on a regular basis. Part of this is also, if you look at UIF WE expenditure, is the impact. We find little scope or very little documentation on how those committees should operate, and it also became just a compliance committee. So yeah, if that can emanate in a risk, if your committees are not sitting, then how will that committee decide what is the biggest risk in the organization and do their job on mitigating risk? So that's always the question: what are the biggest risks? Because if you've got so much, don't dive into that, because you won't be able to mitigate or to address all those risks through proper procedures in a single reporting period. But then you can also qualify your risk. What is the major risk or lesser risk in terms of impact and also of occurrence? And then, implement the controls, design, develop the controls that you see fit, that will assist your organization to prevent these risks. And then ultimately, these risk and controls or risk controls that were put in place and procedures needs to be measured to see if it worked. If the same thing is going to happen, then obviously there's a problem with the controls and the procedures that we try to prevent the risk. So it's very important that you can provide evidence. That is data again. This instances reduced with 30-40%. Yes, obviously then the next phase should be another percentage reduction. Then you know your measures are working. If not, you need to revise your procedures and your measures that you've put in place. Okay. Then obviously the task is of oversight and these internal controls have become exponentially more or increased of what needs to be done, the intervals, the committee structures. It needs to be fit in, it needs to be held on regular intervals. It requires documentation, it requires agendas, it requires investigations, it requires registers that needs to be maintained. And one of those things is in the investment in applications like audit communication management, UIF, WE, management systems, of application software, workflows that can record, measure, etc., schedule, reviews, etc., of these risks. And they are available. They are also now specified in the new RT or the new MSCOA minimum business process specifications. So some of like we have them currently, but it will become compulsory within the next year or two, depending on the schedule of National Treasury.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kunal. There's a big focus. We had a webinar yesterday in which we participated. There's a big focus and emphasis on the quality of data. But in our experience, and more specifically our Phoenix ERP installed base, how important is data quality in managing municipal risk?
Well, if you don't manage your data, you won't know what your risk is. If you don't know your data, if you don't trust your data, then you won't know what the severity of your risk is. Okay. And your data needs to provide you with quick questions, and I've listed a couple of them here. How much did we bill? Is it on target? My planning process through my budget, I said I'm going to bill so much annual rates in July, measure it in July. It's a problem if you measure it only in November or after the first quarter, because annual rates are billed in July. So then that is the effective measure of that. But your system or your data needs to provide that for you in time, and while you're still in July, you should be able to do that so that you can take corrective action if something went wrong. How much have we collected? What is outstanding? What are the exceptions? What is the trends in that outstanding amount? Okay, government departments normally pay November for the government taxes. Those kind of trends, you need to have that data, historical data, to see. Your data also needs to tell you to expect it at a certain time, the build versus the actual cash flow, expenditure that has been committed, where are we going, what is my cash flow forecast in the short term and longer term, contract management, which this year is identified as an emerging risk. So the auditors are going to come for contracts, specifically subcontracting and the scope creep in contracts by services that wasn't defined within the original tender or the SLA, those kind of things. It is an emerging risk for the current year audit. Assets, what do we own? What is our investment property? It is for some municipalities a source of funding to expand services, etc. But if you don't know what you own, you don't know what you have, and you don't know what the state of it, you cannot plan, and you will have an adverse risk that is created by that. Now, if you look at, I need to provide you with a report, and I need to tap in this system and that system and that system, and I've got 5 different systems to collate that 6 questions to you. You have by default introduced risk, because it's not consistent, it's not done. They most likely can inaccuracies exist in your compiled report. Okay, so very important, your source, you need to trust that data, you need to trust the source, and the source of that data should provide it to you consistently in particular formats, whether summarized, whether in a management format or in detail format, depending on the user of that. With MSCOA it became a lot easier because of the standard chart, because of standard format, uniform formatting. It's more understandable, but yet it also provides a detailed list or a population of data that contributed to a total value or to a total expense item.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, one of the things that I think we focused on a lot during the past few months, rightly or wrongly so, is the quality of our property data to ensure that, our billing is 100% correct, and being able to see which stands we have within the municipal area, which have meters, which haven't been built for a specific period of time, etc., all contributes to the integrity and the quality of our data, because at the end of the day, our revenues is important. I mean, revenue and service delivery is one of the two things that one cannot underestimate the significance of. Now, in order for us to do this, I mean, we all use technology. And if we look at technology and how that fits into the risk and audit environment, I'd like to have your view on that, just maybe a few points.
Yeah, technology, Philip, it should be enhancing the capabilities of the municipalities. And it needs to be utilized. If it does not work, try some different technology. But you can't say, yeah, I have technology, but you don't feel the value of that technology. And I'm always been a firm believer that the system must work for me. If it doesn't work, then why have the system? I trust my pencil, and these days my Excel, etc. So it's not simply recorded a transaction or activity or a process. It should become part of your control environment, and that's where workflow comes in. I need to approve. We need to pay. There's always this calendar-based activities that happens in a municipality. That's the nature of municipalities. I don't know of any industry that is so calendar-based in what they do. And there's where technology must look after you or after the environment or the entity to say we are going to do control consistently, regularly, on time, manage the risk around those activities that we do, part and parcel of one system. Having another system somewhere trying to control processes that happens in another system, that is probably the most prevalent reason for failing with systems, and specifically technology fails the risk environment. So if the technology connects in the different parts of your activity, obviously it just makes it more accurate, and it should give effect to the concept of the old SCOA one, but that is these days the slogan, one version of the truth. Maybe to explain, if I've built on my billing engine, I need to relate it to my property register. I can't bill without that property register. The property register must be able to show me what I've built, what is the revenue that came from that specific property. If there is any related assets, uh, related maintenance, it goes back to the property. Then I can see the cost versus the revenue from a particular property. So it's one property, and you need to see all around it. If it's rented out, how long will it be? Is the contract still in place? When must it escalate? It is all part of that property. And within supply chain assets, expenditure, and the revenue, I need to see that view. Then technology is obviously combining or mitigating or reducing the risk around your property property system. Just also a fact. The AGS highlighted that only 34% of auditees has proper information system controls in place. That is effective. It's not just a policy, it is a system and controls that are working and are tested regularly.
Very interesting. I think if we just look at the slide, which you highlighted, the property revenue, billing, payments, expenditure, SCM assets, that's actually a very integrated workflow. One could put an arrow because the one flows into the other, and then obviously we can include a service delivery component or whatever in there, but just to show the digital value chain with regards to creating this one version of the truth. If you had to give a municipality, let's say, 3 practical priorities, data points, key focus areas before the next audit, what would those typically entail?
Philip, yeah, and I think we've touched on it, but fix the data. There's a big data issue now that will be utilized in the current year's audit, and I'm referring specifically to GRAP 104. It is absolutely a data assessment, and that data needs to be correct due to the material values that is going to come from that data in terms of impairment, if I can name one, of debtors. So data. That data, whether you use it in your other applications like GIS Viewer, the GIS Viewer will view what the data is that was sent to the GIS, to the visual side of it. That data will go into your financial reporting. That data will go to your debtors. It goes to outside parties, to the clients of the municipalities. So data needs to be accurate, maintained. I think we as a rule, we don't spend enough data, or if I can say, we don't respect data enough, and we are trusting it, and we only act upon that data once a disaster has struck. There's a material finding, or there is a debtor that is suddenly complaining about his account, or when somebody detects that, but we've missed revenue. And that is all the causes that data, or the poor quality of data can have. Then fix the controls. You need to have a control system in place. You need to know what you're going to do with controls. If you've paid invoices that has not been delivered, and it ended up in fruitless and wasteful expenditure, you need to know what you're going to do, what controls you are going to put in place, and everything that goes with controls. Controls does not help if it is fault somewhere in a policy, controls needs to be communicated. The whole establishment needs to take ownership of that controls. You can't just it's always a CFO and the internal audit thing whenever there's audit exceptions. Your controls and your system or your policy needs to ensure that there's segregations of duties, there's approval, there's evidence, there's ownership of those control failures or the control implementers. And that comes from, management and oversight and measurement. Does it work? Is it done continuously 100% of the time? Only then can you really assess whether your internal controls are working. Okay. And then accountability. I've touched on that. You must have an owner of every risk. It's not one person. If I look at engineering or electrical engineering risk, there's only a few people that can carry the risk coming from that. And they also need to be an owner. Don't expect a veterinarian to do an open heart surgery. You need to be custom, but you need to own it or qualified to do that or to mitigate and manage that risk. And then follow up management of that risk and your procedures. The oversight committees or the structures are there. It is different committees that contribute to managing the risk throughout the organization.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Cornél. I think if we get those three things right, we'll move from simply preparing for an audit to building a stronger municipality. I'm going to ask Dan to flight the poll now. There's great. There isn't. I thought it was going to show on the other screen. So because of all the gremlins that we had this morning, as we're wrapping up, if you would please maybe just complete the poll as it's on the screen. We'd really appreciate the feedback. And then sort of, Cornél, in closing, if we perhaps a final question in some regards, if you had to summarize the biggest lessons for municipalities from the 2025-26 financial year in one sentence, and it's difficult to understand, it probably in the paragraph for this, but what would that typically be?
Yeah, Philip, don't manage the audit. Manage the risks and the controls that produce the audit outcome. Look at your communications, act upon it, take corrective action immediately. But don't wait for the outcome and then manage it. Manage the audit itself as it happens. If your data is credible, your controls are working, your people, your staff are accountable, and your systems provide a reliable audit trail or traceability, I'm sorry, the audit becomes a consequence of good management rather than the objective itself, and that should be the approach. I want to say that I must have confidence on how I manage and my controls, that the outcome of the audit isn't actually a surprise. I should expect the best that happens, and that should be the approach, according to me.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you very much. I think, just to summarize that, if data is credible and the controls are working, people are accountable, systems provide a reliable audit trail, proper workflow history, the audit outcome becomes a consequence of good management rather than the objective itself. Thank you very much, for participating this morning. Thank you, Cornell, for your input. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you very much for everyone that's joined us this morning. We really appreciate sharing this time with you. I want to apologize for the haphazard approach with regards to the technology that let us down a bit. It's mostly due to my incompetence, but it's fine. The next round we'll have a better outcome. I can assure you of that. We're going to distribute the presentation to all delegates that attended. We'll also share the poll results with you. For the rest of the day, I trust that you'll have a fantastic afternoon. And thank you again so much for making time to spend with us this morning. Thank you very much, everyone.
For more information, please feel free to contact us on 0860 104 888, alternatively admin@be.co.za, or on any of our socials. We'd love to interact with you.